Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Fftcg University. It's me, Noah, here with
James.
We're doing a buddy cast type of episode. We're gonna bring back. We're monetized, so I can't go too hard with it. We're gonna call it Best Darn Decks because we're Midwesterners and it sounds funny.
By
that
the time
way.
we do the intro, this should work. The intro music puts us outside of that time frame.
Is it 7 seconds? We're almost at 30. 27, 28.
No, I'm saying
29,
the intro music.
30. Best damn deck. I just wanted to wait just to make sure.
If you do the intro like we normally do first.
Yeah.
It already puts us outside the window.
Yeah, because it's like a 7-second window or something like that.
So 7-second window, the intro is like 20 seconds.
Yeah, easy. Got it. Okay, cool. So we're going to be going ahead and talking about why we think Warriors of Light is the best damn deck in the format currently. This is coming out hopefully before the KC Materia Cup, which will be the first Materia Cup of the season.
For us,
hopefully,
at least. English side.
Yeah, for US
side.
NA, North America.
So Italy just had Italy or French just had theirs.
We're going to go ahead and kick it off. We're going to be talking about a few things here. Essentially what the core of the deck is, any tech cards, and also talking about weaknesses of the deck, so you can try and build around those or play into them if you need to, depending on if you're playing the deck or playing against the deck. Any summon choices that we would consider, and then also the limit break choices, since limit breaks are out now. So let's go ahead and kick it off. We'll talk about the core. So Warriors of Light has, in my opinion, 5 main cards that will almost always see play that the deck revolves around. It will be 4 CP Wool, 3 CP Refia, 3 CP Ferris, 2 CP Lena, and 4 CP Cryle, in my opinion.
I also think if we could add a 6.
I mean, you can if you want.
What's the 6-drop water one, too, I think is another
6-drop water, Sarah FFL.
Yeah.
I don't think she's necessary, though. I built a list without ever playing that card.
Lena doesn't do anything outside of EX Burst, draw your card, and says Warrior of Light.
She also plays dudes.
Yeah.
Which is very important.
It can
She
be.
plays your dudes from your break zone.
It can be. I think the Searcher is much more needed.
I don't think so. Not as much because Ferris exists. There's tons of options.
You don't gotta wait to damage 3 for Sarah.
I mean, who cares? If you get to damage 3, you're probably setting up more than anything else anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these are the 5 cards that I think are the core. James would add on Sarah FFL as a 6th. I actually had that in tech initially, and then I took it out just because it depends on your playstyle. So to go through them, 4 CP Wool states that you can only cast him via backups, and when you do, you have to pay 1 of each of his colors, which is fire, wind, earth, and water. When he enters the field, due to being casted, you get to activate all your backups and draw a card, which is super sick. But he also has keyword soup of Brave, First Strike, and Haste, and he's a 10k body. He's basically your go-to beat stick. Next, we have Refia. Refia is a 3-drop 7k. She's basically just on curve as a vanilla.
She's probably the best damn card in the deck.
She is more than likely, next to Wool, those 2 are the best cards in the deck, which is why they're sitting at the top. Refia states that she is allowed to tap 4 Warriors of Light, Job Warriors of Light, and in doing so, you get to choose a forward your opponent controls and put it to the bottom of their deck. And then, during the start of the attack phase, you get to activate all Job Warriors of Light you control. If you activate 4 or more, you draw a card. So she essentially usually pluses you a card and gets rid of a card in the process. She triggers herself, which is really good. Not a lot of cards do that. Next, we have Ferris, is a 3-drop 7k. Ferris would be the 3rd best card in the deck, in my opinion. Ferris says, on play, ping everything on the board for 1k. And then if any of your Warrior Lights take damage, you get to shoot 3ks, pockets of 3k, to whatever forwards you want that your opponent controls.
He's essentially a board wipe.
Yeah. And then, damage 3 when Ferris enters, you can search for a Job Warrior Light forward as well. I believe it's Job Warrior Light forward. I will double check that.
I believe it's 4.
Next, we have Lena. Lena is a 2 CP water backup. She's very basic, but she's searchable, for one thing, which is why I also put her on here. Lena states that when your opponent triggers an EX burst, you get to draw a card. And then she also has a special that just says ditch a copy of her and pay a water. You get to choose a forward in your break zone of cost 3 or less and play it onto the field dull. Which means you can get your Refia back, you can get your Ferris back, and other cards which we may or may not see from here. And then last, we have Cryle, 4 CP Earth backup that states on enter you can either pick up a summon out of your break zone or you can pick up a Cat 5 character out of your or Cat 5 forward out of your break zone. I want to make sure I'm specific on that. Is a category 5 forward. So with these 5 cards, you essentially will have what you need to start the core Warriors of Light, in my opinion. Refi only needs 4 Warriors of Light to exist, and I think having 2 backups and 3 forwards is just the nice balance that it all gives. We've seen, at least through the past 2 formats, how dominating of a card W.O.L could be. Right? Past 2? Past 1.
Of the 4-drop W.O.L?
Yeah.
W.O.L's like 3, 4.
We're at 3 now? I'd say at least past 2.
I think he's 18. Go up. You can figure it out.
Watch out.
19. So he's 19, 20, 21, 22. 4.
So past 4 formats, W.O.L has been a very dominating card. Yep. He essentially has enabled 4-color decks to be a lot more viable now because of his ability to restand backups draw. Not only to mention that if you just cheat him out some way, he is just a 10k beat stick that is very hard to get around. That also says, I forgot to mention, tap ping for 5.
He has keyword soup.
Yeah, keyword soup. W.O.L does one thing all of his elements have. He's got Brave from Earth. He's also a 10k. From Water, he gets access to drawing. From Wind, he gets the restand. From Fire, he has his ping damage. He's, everything in between. Next, we have the tech cards. So these 5 cards that are on the screen here for you are the cards that I think are tech-worthy cards that you can put in. There's obviously way more options than that.
There's so many Warriors of Light options.
But these are the cards that I think are the ones that are kind of the most important to try and fiddle around with first. So we'll start with Zidane. I think Zidane's an easy go-to for almost any deck that can play him because of the simple fact that he rips cards out of your opponent's hand and thins their deck a bit more. So he's slowly milling them in the process. Yep. He's almost impossible to block because nobody's playing anything lower than a 3 90% of the time. He's a 2-drop 7k, which is really good. Yep. Granted, he is Fire Wind, so you do have to pay Fire and Wind.
You have to hardcast.
Yeah, you have to pay too.
Most of the time.
But the value he generates is insane, especially because he has haste. So on play, you get to rip 2 cards out of your opponent's hand that could potentially stop your turn or further turns in the future. Next, I put Arc on here. This Arc, there's 2 different Arcs you can play. There's the Opus, what is this, 19 Arc?
18.
Oh, Opus 18 Arc, which is a 4-drop that says on play.
Stats.
On play or EX Burst, you get to look at top 5 and add anything that's not
Wind.
Or, sorry,
you add fire, earth, or water
out of the main colors. And then there's this Arc as well, who is down here. I can't read the computer screen far away, and I don't remember everything exactly off the top of my head.
When he enters the field, choose up to 3 job, standard unit, or Warrior of Light. Activate them, damage 3. When he enters the field, choose 1 job, standard unit, or job, Warrior of Light of cost 3 or less. In your break zone and play it.
Yeah, so he replays Refia. He replays Ferris. He can replay. What other 3-cost Warriors of Light or am I playing? There's other options. I just don't. Bart's. He can replay Bart's. So he's really cool for that, and he essentially restands. He's like a weird mix between W.O.L's restand ability and Lena's res ability, which is really nice. He does cost 5, but he essentially refunds himself 90% of the time. Next card I have. I feel like a board wipe is important in the main deck as well as in your limit break deck, which we'll get to. But I think Neo X Death is probably one of the better board wipes in the game, if not the best board wipe in the game. I think it's almost better than Toto. It costs you a theoretical 10 because you have to remove 2 backups. But instead of Toto, where it removes all forwards on the board, this removes all forwards and monsters your opponent controls. So it clears their board for you to just swing in. Then we have Une. Une is very iffy. Sometimes it just depends. I think Une is generically just good as is. Une can reduce her cost by removing a water and or earth summon out of your break zone. It's 2 of either. She states when she enters the field, you can choose a forward your opponent controls, bounce it back to their hand. Choose a backup they control, bounce it back to their hand. So you get to disable their board a bit. Debuild their board is more so the word to use. And then also, she states that she can tap herself to pick up a summon, which is really good because we do play summons in this deck. So you get to, if they don't deal with Une, you get to constantly reuse summons, either getting your forwards back or telling your opponent they can't play the game.
And a lot of your summons are just anti-gameplay summons.
Basically. And then last on the tech list I have here is something that I'm going to try out, and you guys will see in a later video that we will upload with this as well, is going to be Bart's. This is the new Bart's from Opus, we're in 22. Opus 22, that states that you can remove 3 Job Warrior of Light forwards from your break zone, or I think it's just actually 3 Job Warrior of Lights from your break zone, and he can't be targeted by opponents' summons or abilities, I believe. Is it summons or abilities?
Chosen by your opponent's abilities.
Sorry, just abilities. And then he has a special. Ditch a copy of him, pay X, search for a Warrior of Light. It's not forward. Yep, just Job Warrior of Light of cost X or less. Weird that the less part is there. Oh, I guess if you overpay. So extra less and played onto the field. And you can only do that during your turn. And it's not a once per turn.
It's not.
Which is kind of cool.
And he doesn't have to tap for it.
So a theoretical, really cool combo tech piece that you can do is be like, ditch a Bart's pay for, play Cryle. So you essentially paid for to search out Cryle, and then Cryle will pick you back up a Bart's, since Bart's is a Cat 5.
Just do it again, search Ferris, search out another Bart's.
Yeah. Like
you could wombo combo.
Bart's is a really cool card. I don't think we've seen enough experimentation with him yet, so I can't put him too high on where I want him, but I do think he's a really cool tech piece that you can add to the deck. On top of that, now, we also do have to address any... what's the word? Any weaknesses, it would be the word, of the deck. And one of the biggest ones I say is that your value forwards are cost 3 or less. Or technically cost 4 or less. Odin kills them. Lightning will almost always, in my opinion, have a field day against this deck because it plays the Opus 20 Odin? Or is it Opus 19? The 3-drop that says if you control 5 or more lightning characters, you draw. 20. Yeah, Opus 20 Odin, which breaks a 4 or less, monster or forward. Meaning any of your guys that are important get broken. Mist Dragon is your best counter against it. Lightning also plays Ixion, for instance, which if they want to pay the extra cost for Ixion, they not only kill all 2-drops on the field, but they also kill all 3-drops as well, which will definitely... Paying 5 to kill a Refi and a Ferris does not feel bad, in my opinion.
I also think one of the biggest weaknesses of the deck, which can be manageable on the offside of it, is... Refia is the only thing that makes this deck as good as it is. It can color fix and do a bunch of really cool things. It's neat. Like, W.O.L's nuts, but outside of W.O.L, Refia is the only thing that makes this deck work. Without Refia, this deck does not do anything. And Refia is an easy piece to keep off the board. But...
She's also easy to get back.
And you have to keep spinning every time they do put it back up.
Yep. I would also say... Ratsu. This deck is very Ratsuable, depending. If you Ratsu Ferris, Ferris doesn't do jack.
Best Ratsu target is Refia.
On her on attack or start of attack trigger.
Yeah, her restand.
You cancel that, tell her no.
Yep.
If Ferris is on board, you do have to eat the ping, but like it's whatever. I would also say Mist Dragon is good generically as well, just because this deck does have a lot of break zone recursion, so it's really good to deal with that as well. It does take a while, in my opinion, for this deck to set up. Because it plays W.O.L, you want to build at least up to 4 backups to really start punching your opponent in the face. And sometimes people can just do that faster than you. But hopefully you're able to play around that, and you load your deck with just enough EX burst that maybe you hit 1 or 2 throughout taking damage, and you're kind of fine. I think the deck list that we're going to put up will have 21 EX burst in it, I think, when I counted.
It's a hefty amount.
So it's a little under half, which is pretty okay, in my opinion. Every EX burst does something that should be able to benefit you in some form or fashion. Next, from the core to the tech to the summons. So we're going to start off with Kusith. Kusith is probably one of the best Earth summons this game has ever produced. 2 CP EX burst, which if it didn't have the EX, it'd be a lot lower, but it's still so good. Actually, if it didn't have the EX, I think it'd be a lot worse, to the point where it's like barely playable. But 2 CP EX burst.
It's not.
Yeah, but
EX
the EX
is why you want to play
so nuts. On cast, you get to choose a forward or backup in your break zone and add it to your hand, meaning you can pick up any of your forwards that die, or if you want to, you can pick up Blend Out or recur something to later. It's whatever you want to do. Next, we chose Opus 14 Leviathan, 6 CP EX burst as well. That states, or I guess not states, when you cast it, you can either choose a water forward in your break zone, add it to your hand, so you can, it's essentially Kusith for your Refias and or your Unes, if you play those, or your Wolves. You can choose a lighter dark forward, put it at the top or bottom of your opponent's deck, and you can bounce a forward. It's 2 of the 3 actions.
It's a very good EX burst.
I will say, one of the funnier things is just stacking a lighter dark at the top, swinging in, and then getting rid of it permanently in damage, unless they play Larsa, but nobody plays that Larsa. Next, we have Cuchulainn, which I also think is just an insane card to play. Cuchulainn just says, pay 1, blank a dude, and you get to draw a card for doing it. So if there's any pesky forwards out there that are just really hard to deal with, things like Yuffie, for instance, or Squalls, if Squalls come back into the meta for whatever reason, anything that has just like a really dumb auto that could potentially harm your board state more than it should, you can Cuchulainn it, blank it out, live another turn. Next is Amma, arguably the best summon in the game, definitely in top 3 in my opinion, just because Amma says cancel any auto. that alone, in my opinion, is enough on a summon. Not only that, it's a fire summon, so it gets to deal damage as well, and it 8K something.
Yep.
Which at this point in time, with the way the game is, 8K is the perfect number to have.
A lot of sevens.
A lot of sevens are running around. Even a lot of 8s, and Ratsu can tell them no. It definitely will end up stopping soirees, because Edel never gets to play. It can stop lightning decks if they're playing any mill packages, which a lot of Cat 8 mill packages will be existing. It can stop Vikings to some degree. Just depends on when you want to stop the Viking. It actually can stop the mirror match as well. And then last, we have Mist Dragon.
Probably the most broken card in the meta right now.
I'd put Mist Dragon like in
I think
top
it's the
3.
most.
I don't think it's the most broken.
I think it's better than Amma. More than half the meta resolves
for sure. Right now, I would say it's better than Amma. Mist Dragon has, I believe, 3 different modes. You can either remove your opponent's break zone, draw a card. You can cancel a summon of cost 5 or less, which is really good. that part's actually insane.
That's the nutty part.
And then you can also tap one of your or duel one of your forwards, and it doesn't receive damage. So it's really good for like chump blocking if you really need to. You want to keep a dude alive, but you need to block. Mist Dragon's your guy. All in all, I think the summon package is pretty self-explanatory. I think your biggest flex spots, because you're almost always going to play Kutzith, Amma, and Mist Dragon, your biggest flex spots are going to be where Leviathan and Kuchulain lay, but I think they're very important to have as well. And then lastly, out of the summons, we go to Limit Breaks. With Limit Break being a new mechanic, we only have 2 for each color, so it's kind of iffy on what you want to do. But the cards that we chose out of the limited pool, I believe, of 16 cards...
It's not
because we don't have light. 15 cards are Shantoto at number 1, because she is basically just a on-demand board wipe whenever you need it.
As long as you have the cost.
As long as you can pay 9.
She is what I've learned is still actually very hefty.
Yes, it's still a hefty cost. Cloud, James decided to add that in. I'm okay with that. He put it at a 1 of. We do play Tyro in our list, so Tyro will be the lightning fix for Cloud. Late game,
the other thing
taking care of something small is really nice.
Another thing I know that some decks will be playing or could be playing is Onion Knight. Water Lightning. It's a Warrior of Light, and it fixes for Cloud.
That is true. So Cloud's very cool because he just breaks a 3 or less. And then you just have an 8K body on the board. Mott is actually really solid. Mott states that when he enters, you get to give all of your forwards 1K Brave, and Mott innately has Brave. So he's another just 8K body that says that all your dudes can attack with Brave, and you get to keep them up so you can respond to whatever your opponent plays on the next turn.
With Refia.
Titus is really cool because Titus states that, you need 8 dudes for Titus to actually function. Titus will cost 8, but it's worth the cost in my opinion. Titus is Water's version of a on-demand board wipe in this game. He will draw you 2 cards. He will bottom deck a dude, and then he will top deck a dude, which is super. Or I think he bounces a dude to hand and top decks a dude.
Bounce, top deck,
draw two, which is really cool. He helps debuild their board, and he slightly recoups the cost on him. And then lastly, we put Leo in here just because a pay 3 draw isn't terrible, and you can just sack them off for a block, or if they don't put anything, I guess you can swing with Leo.
And the other thing is, like, if you need to play other things, it's a cool hit for just flipping on your limit break.
It's something you get rid of with limit break. One of the biggest things you also need to worry about is Toto is a once per game effect, and then your entire limit break's gone. So you either Toto or you don't. But you kind of have to decide against the deck you're playing against if it's worth using your limit breaks or if you want to save the Toto for if things are going to get a little hairy.
And a lot of times your deck can handle a lot of things that you don't need Toto. It's just one Toto is never going to hurt you.
Yeah. And the deck's good enough, in my opinion. Warriors of Light is good enough to be able to almost play a 1-for-1 game without it being a full 1-for-1.
Yep. It never feels bad.
It never feels bad. So that's that kind of runs down the ideas that we have for the deck. These are cards that will be in a deck list that we will post down below, and you'll also see videos that will be posted with this as well. Overall final thoughts on why we think W.O.L is the best damn deck is because it's very toolboxy, in my opinion.
It's toolboxy.
It's not break zone toolboxy.
It's not too big.
No,
comparatively to other things.
Always got W.O.L almost always has a chance to recover itself. If you build the 4 backups, you can always play W.O.L to keep going and push the charge on. You can always play Refia and just have 3 backups, or Refia and another Warrior Light and 2 backups, and you can always keep dudes off board if need be. Ferris always searches something to help you get back into the game past damage 3, and also says, on swing and on enter, ping, and just keep dudes down. You have at least 3 forwards that are able to keep a board down, which is very important.
And Spaghetti Soup is good.
Keyword Soup is so good. That really wraps it up for why we think WoL's the best damn deck. Please, guys, be sure to leave comments, or be sure to leave
something
like.
We forgot that you guys want to
subscribe.
talk about or wanted us to know, put it down in the comments.
Honestly,
we love reading the
we've
comments.
definitely made a video and talked about why we don't like WoL for CP WoL. I still don't like that card, but it is really good. I can't lie that it's not.
Again, for the fourth set in a row, the best card in the game.
I wouldn't say.
I think it's. I still think it's
Just it's one of the best cards in the game. You just said Mist Dragon was the best card.
What? Oh well, Mist Dragon is the best card this meta.
Oh, so WoL's not the best card in the game if Mist Dragon is the best card
Sure,
this
whatever.
meta. Otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed the video and
stay alert.